What was that? What was that? Like a mumble?
My mating call.
How's that working out for you?
Fine.
We'll just go with fine.
Just fine. Hi there. You're listening to Pop Partisan, the podcast that brings real world issues and conjecture to pop culture world for a non court ordered reason. We examine things like does Fairly Odd Parents teach us about American exceptionalism more than any textbook could? Do the traps in Saw movies make a case for Medicare for all? How do humans immigrate to alien planets in Men in Black?
With that doesn't really sound like a lot of original ideas. I'm just putting that out there.
I think they're original because I'm reading them.
Yeah, that's not what original means.
Original is in the eyes of the beholder, aka me.
It's like the opposite of that. Original is in the eyes of the audience.
I'm an audience of one.
That's both sad and small-minded. But anyway, continue.
Basically, if we're taking all of your favorite pop culture indulgences and trouncing them with a healthy dose of real-world anxieties.
So, buckle up.
In the vein of originalism, as we just discussed, Sam, I'm stealing your idea from last week.
Wait, what?
Because that's what we do. We steal.
But wait, we didn't talk about this. Am I getting like a fee for this?
No fee.
Oh shoot, I should have copyrighted it.
Could you copyright a podcast that's sort of our thing?
I could copyright it away from you.
Yeah.
You know, in the vein of cooperation, I guess.
In the vein of cooperation. Well, in the vein of cooperation, how about we go ahead and discuss another classic. Can we call it a classic? It's been on for 15 years.
I mean, it's your words, not mine.
Fair enough.
Audience of one.
Audience of one. We are going to be discussing It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Are you familiar?
Yeah, I've seen, I want to say 12 seasons of it. I know that they just keep getting renewed, and they're in, what, the 45th season? 46th season?
15th season, but close enough.
Yeah, longest running in-person sitcom. That's not...
Maybe?
It has some superlative. I know it's like some very specific superlative that they hold a record for.
Longest running show with Danny DeVito on it?
I'm trying to think what other shows had Danny DeVito on it. He's more of a movie guy, right?
Yep. In It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, we're going to be taking a look at one specific character.
Wait, can I guess who it is?
Sure.
Is it Cricket?
We should do an episode on Cricket, but alas, it is not going to be about Cricket. We're going to be talking about...
Cricket's more of a sad character.
he is a very sad character. His arc is... It does not bend towards the moral arc
toward justice.
Toward justice. In fact, I would make an argument that it bends towards the opposite. So we're going to be taking a look at if the stalker handyman, an artistically gifted janitor, also known as Charlie.
He was my second guess.
Is going to be Democratic or Republican on our scale.
First one was Cricket. Second one was Charlie.
Oh, okay.
Third one would be the second McPoyle, the one with darker hair, not lighter hair.
Which
the Donald Trump Jr. one.
The one that
which I hate that's a universal thing. Yeah, he was in House of Cards.
TV career
and
than the other.
I think he was in like the Yogi Bear movie too.
Similar to the Simpsons episode, if you guys want to go back and listen now to all the rules of how this game is going to work, and also listen to how we scored the lovable Homer Simpson. I would go back in the Rolodex.
Chronology of podcasts.
Rolodex, whatever. Podcasts, and plug that in now. So basically, we have a sliding scale. We're going to look at various episodes in which Charlie does a specific act or has some sort of political leaning, and try and tease out how he sort of scores on this really scientific rigorous
whether
scale.
he's slightly more Democratic or slightly more Republican. It's very scientific
Exactly.
because it's a sliding scale one way or the other.
Very scientific.
It reminds me of that Muppet Babies episode where they're pulling on Fozzie Bear's arms and Fozzie Bear looks to camera and screams.
I've never seen this, and I never knew Muppet Babies was a thing.
Muppet Babies are why I'm the way I am today, in addition to The Simpsons.
You're not really selling it.
Yeah, not a convincing argument.
So, Sam, are you ready to begin?
Hold on. Do I need to buckle my seatbelt?
Yes, buckle your
My
seatbelt.
chair is shaking. I don't know if it's supposed to be doing that.
Do you guys get earthquakes in wherever you are?
Yeah, all the time. It's just whenever Chris Christie comes to town. Oh, I was trying to think of a fat senator, but nobody was coming to mind.
We go after fat governors.
Yeah, well, I mean, New Jersey isn't that far away. But yes, I am ready to talk about Sunny in Philadelphia and whether or not Charlie is a Democrat or a Green Party member.
Or a communist.
Or communist, probably a communist.
Or a communist.
I'm putting my money down
Probably.
now for communist. If not a communist, then I'm going to Venmo you $50.
Oh, I can't wait. First episode, Gun Fever. When Patty's gets robbed, the gang decides to purchase a gun with many issues. At the same time, Dee is dating a mysterious man, which the gang suspects to be the robber. Home defense at the bar, definitely something we can all get behind. R+1. Vigilante justice, something we probably should not get behind, no matter how many Marvel movies we watch. R+3 for an aggregate of R+4.
I don't think it makes it super Republican that they'd be vigilantes. Like, I think that's closer to center. It's more circumstantial. So I would say like aggregate of R+3 for this.
Okay. R+3?
Oh, wait, do I have to keep count since you're the one saying words?
Yes.
Okay, wait, I need to find paper. It's going to be a little bit. I don't have paper near my desk.
Pause for technical difficulties.
Thank you for
As
standing
we
by.
Not discuss this.
Okay, I have a slice of paper.
Okay, good.
I used to call it a slice of paper at a job I had a couple years ago, and it always, for whatever reason, gave all of my coworkers the creeps, and that's why I'm no longer there.
Mm.
So R+3?
R+3.
Okay, cool. I also realize this is really unilaterally powerful on the person taking notes because I could just choose to write R+12.
You're right. I can't really verify what you're writing down is correct.
I'm allowed to cheat. What voice was that? Jesus Christ. Anyway, keep going.
So, our second episode, The Gang Goes Jihad.
Oh, I don't like where this is going.
An Israeli businessman claims ownership of the street that Patty's pub is on, prompting the gang to go to extremes to get the man to leave. Using terrorists to scare and frighten someone into doing something they may not want to do, R+5. Looking at you, Reagan and Charlie Wilson.
That's fair. R+5?
R+5.
That's fair. Hold on, is this for Charlie or is this for the gang as an aggregate?
Well, since Charlie is the one directing the movie, I'm just assuming, because they end up taping a videotape, and Charlie's the one directing them.
Oh yeah, where like he holds up the hammer and he's like, "We'll bash your brains in," and then they just look at him like he's strange.
Yes.
That's Mac, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's Mac and Dennis that are in the movie, and Charlie's the one directing it.
Okay. All right, R+5.
The gang runs for office. After realizing the money-making potential of political corruption, always a fan favorite, the gang decides to help Dennis run for the position of local comptroller. Charlie chases a woman through the mall, wanting to get a photo op with Dennis kissing her baby, R+2. Charlie and Dennis teaming up to be bribed out of the race, R+2, for an aggregate of R+4.
So I don't think bribery, current political context aside, is Democratic or Republican because both parties have been nasty about it historically. So I would just say R+2 for the whole thing for this episode.
I can agree to that.
I feel like from this trend, we're going to see Charlie Day speaking at CPAC in the not too distant future.
Probably. And that's okay.
And that's okay. His high pitched, shrill voice, I'm sure, will um, be a pleasant. No, it's not pleasant. Never mind. I'm cutting this all out.
He'll lead the Pepe Sylvia speech.
Why hasn't Pepe Sylvia put out his tax returns? I like how Charlie is also like really, really close to Mickey Mouse.
Yes, that it was a good Mickey Mouse interpretation. Our next one, Charlie goes America all over everybody's ass. To prove their patriotism, Charlie and Dee try to upstage the local anti-smoking group, while Dennis and Mac turn Patty's into a bastion of true freedom. But when Frank takes things too far, Patty's is populated with creeps and lowlifes, and the gang decides they want to live under a totalitarian state. Charlie proposes changes that benefit the public health of everyone in the bar, D+3. Charlie and Dee organize local politics, D+2, for an aggregate of D+5.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, D+5.
I mean, it's good that there's like a little bit more than just being like partisan Charlie, but that's what we're here to discuss.
Exactly. The gang in our next episode, excuse me.
We knew we were going to another. Anyway, go ahead.
The gang finds a dumpster baby, also known as DB. Mac and Dee decide to raise a baby they find in the dumpster. Dennis talks some trash while going green and befriending radical environmentalist groups, while Charlie and Frank go dumpster diving. Charlie plays the role of pseudo social worker trying to reunite kid with the kid's parents, even though he's wrong. He essentially goes to the waitress and says, "This is your love child with Frank, have it back." D+2 because he's a social worker.
I thought there were going to be extra points because he goes to the waitress for it. D+2. Wait, in this episode, is this also the one where Charlie finds out that he was aborted, but it didn't take?
Yes.
I feel like that would give him more points as a Democrat. Would that make him pro-abortion? I don't know.
Maybe, but he I don't know, survived. So maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not a bearing on his politics. What were you saying? D+2?
Yes.
Okay, hear me out. D+2.5.
Okay. Charlie recycling resources D+3, so an aggregate of D+5.
Oh, okay. So hear me out. D+5.5.
Okay.
Yes. It's all about the little victories. He's seeming less like a CPAC speaker by the bullet point.
The gang sells out. A corporate chain offers to buy the Patty's Pub, leaving Dee and Charlie unemployed, forcing them to find jobs at another restaurant, where they abuse their positions and take advantage of the manager, who is Dee's friend.
It's the waitress, right?
Yes. Charlie loses his shares and picks up working at a diner doing an honest day's work. R+2 because it's the American dream or something.
Okay, R+2 works.
Okay.
I'll agree with R+2, but I'll say for the record, the American dream isn't something that Republicans exclusively believe in. Just have to reinforce that in the zeitgeist.
Fair enough, but it's also...
Yeah, in this context, yeah.
The gang solves the gas crisis. To profit from high gas prices, Mac, Dennis, and Charlie fill barrels of gasoline and sell them door to door.
Oh god, that made me so nervous when I saw that the first time. Like the gigantic drums, yeah.
Charlie in a 10-gallon hat.
It probably smells like the state of Utah.
Oh, probably. Dee and Frank plot to brand Bruce Mathis a terrorist. Extortion of a crisis. And profiteering off others' gas misery, R plus 5.
Only R plus 5?
Yes.
All right, R plus 5 works.
Okay. Our next episode. The gang cracks the Liberty Bell. In an attempt to turn their bar into a Philadelphia landmark, the gang tells the story and plays roles into how Patty's Pub was historically relevant during the Revolutionary War. America, R plus 1. Inventing time travel, D plus 3, because science and stuff.
Because only Democrats know science.
Yes. Aggregate, D plus 2.
I don't want to make America a Republican exclusive thing, but I know what you're saying. I would be okay with keeping this as just an aggregate D plus 2, but I know what you're saying with the first thing, but I still think D plus 2 is appropriate.
Okay. Our next one, Sweet D has a heart attack.
Sweet D has a heart attack. Sorry, I had to.
After Dee suffers a heart attack, she and Dennis try a healthier lifestyle. Charlie and Mac join the corporate workforce to get health insurance. Charlie gets a corporate job to pay into the system that benefits everyone. Medicare, Social Security, all those things.
Ooh, I didn't think you were going to go there, but yeah.
D plus 3. Engineering the Pepe Sylvia conspiracy, R plus 4. Aggregate, D plus 1.
Wait. What was the math again?
Oh, R plus 1. Sorry.
R plus 1. Wait, did you say 4 and 2?
4 and 3.
4 and 3. Okay, that makes more sense. So it's R plus 1.
Mm-hmm.
I would make that D plus 1. No, let's do R plus 1. R plus 1 is fine.
Okay.
Because I always get mixed up with that episode, and I've lost a bet about this on whether or not those people actually exist that he has, like, all the tinfoil hat conspiracy theories about. But they do exist, and they've been asking about their mail for God knows how long, and Charlie's smoking cigarettes in the mailroom.
Yes, all because of Pepe Sylvia. Do you know who Pepe Sylvia is?
Is it just... Okay, I've seen this before. Is it just the state of Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Okay. Did they ever confirm that? I saw that on a meme a long time ago. You also saw it on a meme, right?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Never mind. We'll just say it is. It's canon now. Whether or not Charlie and Rob decide to change it or not now, it's irrelevant.
It's been made ours. The audience.
Yeah, collective product. Art belongs to everyone.
It does.
Except if it's like, a Rembrandt that you can't really split into 150 pieces.
That's true, you can't.
Is a piece of a Rembrandt a Rembrandt? We'll discuss next episode. That's not what next episode is about.
The gang gets extreme home makeover edition. The gang redecorates a poor family's home a la extreme makeover home edition.
Very succinct.
Wanting to help the less fortunate through renovating housing, D plus 2.
So in this, okay, if I'm remembering this episode right, the family is they're helping this family totally unsolicited, right?
Yes.
Okay, I feel like that factors into it somehow. Like you were saying D plus 2 because they're helping the less fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like foisting themselves, which is kind of a liberal guilt thing.
Mm-hmm.
How about D plus 2.5?
Giving the Juarez's the mansion because they destroy the Juarez's house, D plus 4.
Wait, so is that the... Wait, you didn't tell me the aggregate.
Aggregate,
You snuck that in.
D plus 6.
So it's D plus 6.
Yes.
I'm gonna bump it down to D plus 5 because I didn't know you were going to give that many points to them for that.
Okay.
Do you have anything else you were going to add in order to supplement it, or
Nope.
is that it?
Nope, that's it. Theoretically, you could sort of, I guess, knock that D plus 4 mansion because now the Juarez's have to pay for the mortgage, they have to pay for property taxes.
Oh yeah, and they make a point to like mention that at the end of the episode, right?
Yeah. So they might just be priced out of it and become homeless. It could be, R plus 1. I don't know.
I'm keeping it D plus 5 just because I don't want to do more math than is necessary.
Okay. Our next episode is the gang exploits the mortgage crisis. This is an episode that obviously has tie-ins to 2008 housing crisis, but in this one, Frank, Mac, and Dennis try their hand at real estate, and Dee arranges to be a surrogate mugger. Where does Charlie fit in all this? Well, he tries his hand at law. This is the famous bird law
Oh, Jesus.
episode.
I didn't know it was this one.
Profiting off the housing crisis, R plus 3. Charlie impersonating a lawyer, R plus 4. For an aggregate of R plus 7.
Oh, Jesus. I thought most bird lawyers were Democrats.
Yeah. I mean, what? Like saving birds?
No, just bird lawyers. Not even like enviro advocates or conservation advocates, just bird lawyers. Aren't they mostly Dems?
Sure. I'm not sure. I don't know any bird lawyers except Charlie. And that's why we're figuring this out.
That's fair, yeah. This is going to be the standard by which we determine the paradigm. So I'm going to propose R plus 5 aggregate, just because the bird law stuff is still to be determined.
That's fine.
I said that very confidently. What did I say, R plus 5?
R plus 5.
You know, I realized you could do. You could just cancel out the numbers in order to determine which one is the net value of higher than the other one. So like there's a 5 in the Dem row and the 5 in the Republican row, and a 2 in each. So I can like cross those out, and now we're a step closer to being done with this nightmare.
Listeners, we're cutting all this shit. You're not going to hear it.
If you're saying listeners were going to cut this, they're not going to hear it. And isn't that the best part of it?
Explaining math?
Explaining math. So what you do is when you add, you take the number and then you combine it with the other number. I'd be a bad teacher.
Yeah, bad math teacher. That's for damn sure.
Bad Teacher, I think, is also a movie that Charlie Day was in.
Yeah, or was it just Horrible Bosses?
Okay, there's Horrible Bosses, but then there was like one where he fights Ice Cube.
I don't know.
Like they're like he's playing a high school teacher who fights another high school teacher played by Ice Cube.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, never mind.
Our next episode, the gang wrestles for the troops. The gang decides to put on a wrestling show for troops returning home, while Dee courts a soldier who doesn't seem like the person she's chatting online with. Wrestling, R plus 2.
Yeah, but there's the America thing too.
So you think it should be more?
Yeah, shouldn't it be like R plus 6 or R plus 8?
Oh wow, that's extreme.
What are you gonna give it?
I said R plus 2
For the whole thing?
for the whole thing.
I'm going R plus 4.
Cut it in the middle, R plus 3.
R plus 3. Cut it in the middle. It's like I'm sharing a candy bar with my brother again. Jesus Christ.
A delicious candy bar, I hope.
It was one of the candy bars I didn't like. Actually, I don't know what candy bar that would be.
You like candy?
I'm fat, ladies and gentlemen.
Our next episode, Patty's Pub, home of the original Kitten Mittens.
Wait, can I do the Mittens line?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, you ready? Kitten Mittens, you'll be smitten. We can cut this? Or is this live?
Fuck it, we're doing it live.
We're doing it live. Yeah. Oh God, that's a dangerous prospect. Anyway.
Are you done? Are you?
Yeah, I said anyway, so go ahead.
The gang attempts to create a merchandising angle for Patty's when a convention comes to Philly. Invention and small business owner, D plus 1. Helping kittens keep their feet warm. Sam, I'm going to ask you to answer this one.
I'm gonna say that's D plus 2.
All right. For an aggregate of D plus 3.
Yeah, I'll do that. D plus 3 sounds good. I like how the whole time I'm looking at my cats, determining whether or not I actually have to buy them kitten mittens.
Are they acknowledging your presence when you say kitten mittens?
No, they're both sleeping.
Okay, so...
It's a normal daytime hour, so of course they're asleep.
Right, of course. So no kitten mittens is what we're deciding.
No kitten mittens, and it's almost off season, so we're gonna wait till a sale is on.
That makes sense. Our next episode, we're almost quite to the finish line.
We're almost 5 points away from almost being at the finish line.
The gang recycles their trash. While the city of Philadelphia's garbage men are on strike, Dennis, Mac, and Charlie decide to start a trash pickup business. And while being a big success, they must find out where to put this newly picked up trash. Small business owner that serves a public good, D plus 4, for an aggregate of D plus 4.
You really had to do the aggregate, even though it was just one thing you were adding?
Yes.
That feels like it was intentionally douchey, and I'm upset. Was this the one where they, like, dress up like ice cream men and go around and, like, knock on doors and be like, hi, we want to pick up your trash?
Yes.
Okay, I love that episode. What'd you say, D plus 4?
Yep.
I feel like that's not really, like, a super democratic thing to do. I'd say D plus 2.
Okay.
All right.
D plus 2.
D plus 2. Sounds good.
The Antisocial Network is our next episode. While Dennis and Charlie track down an annoying shusher the old-fashioned way, D and Mac cyberstalk him. Frank is online as well, trying to boost business at the bar. Dennis and Charlie, using the old-fashioned way, D plus 1.
I'm going to say R plus 1 because I feel like Dems are more tech savvy.
Yes, but they're using social network. And I feel like with social network, Dennis and Charlie are using the old-fashioned way, whereas I feel like Republicans, are balls to the wall with social media now, on Facebook at least.
I don't know. I think about it. I think about it as like the more tech savvy, the more liberal.
Okay.
Just because it's more like a young person thing, like D plus. I would say D plus 1. Is this the one where they join like an MMORPG, or is that a different episode?
That's a different one. That's where Charlie gets addicted to gaming.
Yeah, like they do like a Farmville thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like Lord of the Rings themed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna counter propose D plus 1.
Okay.
Yay!
The gang gets quarantined.
Oh, surely this isn't going to be relatable remotely.
When a severe flu outbreak sweeps Philadelphia, the gang voluntarily quarantine themselves inside of Patty's. Quarantining during a public health crisis, D plus 1. That's it.
Only D plus 1?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's sad that that's a partisan thing. I would give them D plus 2 in this situation.
But they're quarantining in a bar.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. Okay, so you said D plus 1?
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you D plus 1. That works.
Okay. Next one, Charlie work. Charlie is determined to make sure Patty's Pub passes its health inspection.
Oh, this was like one of my favorite episodes. It's like the continuous shot, like in Birdman.
Yes.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
Following local ordinances and working hard to make sure that they are within those local ordinances, D plus 2.
Yeah, D plus 2 works. Lawful good. Something we sadly associate with the Democrats these days, but sure.
Sadly. The gang turns black.
Oh, Jesus, I hate this episode.
After an electric heating blanket shorts out while the gang watches The Wiz, they look in the mirror and realize they've turned black.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
An episode about empathy, D plus 2.
From that angle, I'll say D plus 2, yeah. It always feels forced whenever they talk about race. I don't know. There's an episode where Rob McElhenney is in blackface.
That's the one where they do the
Lethal Weapon parody?
Yes, yep.
Oh, and Caitlin Olsen is also in blackface.
Yes.
And Danny DeVito bangs whores.
Whores.
HOOOORS. The more O's, the, funner they are. Hi, Mom.
The gang solves global warming. As a record-breaking heat wave overtakes Philly, the gang plans to profit from global warming by pumping up the AC so people will congregate at Patty's and save energy at home. Finding solutions for global warming, D plus 2. Not straining the energy grid, D plus 4. for an aggregate of D plus 6.
I would bump it down to like D plus 3 because they're pumping up the AC and like using a lot of energy themselves because they know that they could profit off of it. So I'd say D plus 4 instead of D plus 6.
Okay, I can roll with that.
Okay. And that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
What's our grand total?
I'm going to do the math as I am talking to you, and you could feel free to talk to me while I am doing it. But keep in mind, I am going to talk like this because I am not good at multitasking.
I hope you don't screw up and have to start over again, or else this episode's going to be longer.
Oh, it is okay. I'm sure I will not do that. I just think that... Oh, wait, I screwed up. 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 4. Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so with a resounding, like, almost 2-1 margin, Charlie's a Democrat.
No way.
We have an aggregate of R plus 14 and D plus 30.5.
Wow, yeah, that is not what I expected.
And here we were like 20 minutes ago talking about how Charlie was going to be a keynote at CPAC.
Yep. Boy, were we wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they do discuss a lot of liberal things just because it's like easier commentary than, the old school things. They're not the Waltons. They're not a TV show from 50 years ago. So it gives them a lot more latitude to talk about some of this stuff. But it's interesting because this is a show that I don't really associate with politics super strongly. I don't think you do either, right?
No.
Yeah, like it's a very irreverent comedy. It's meant to be kind of blue collar, very digestible, very like turn it on and go into another room and just hear the sounds of Charlie Day's really, really high pitched voice.
Mm-hmm.
So it begs the question, I want to ask you this. Can an irreverent comedy like this actually provide like decent commentary on political motifs or political issues that we could internalize or things that we could take to heart?
I don't know if you can make an argument of the lessons that you can take from It's Always Sunny on political motifs to heart, because I think at the end of the day, an irreverent comedy like this is going to expose the cynicism that's sort of rife within politics itself.
Yeah, it's more social commentary than political commentary at the end of the day.
I think it's a comedy that fits within the larger sort of cultural dynamic that we see,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think in this time period, we live in a very cynical political atmosphere. And you can probably make that argument, we've been living in this, or it's been festering, growing since maybe the late 90s.
Yeah, Newt Gingrich. Hashtag fuck Newt Gingrich.
Hashtag fuck Newt Gingrich.
That's a good merchant idea. People would eat up that t-shirt.
I think they would.
And
just
some, I bet you, would actually wear it.
I bet so. Mom, what's your shirt size?
But yeah, it's interesting that there's that level of like political commentary that ends up irking into it from a show that's like supposed to be relatively neutral. And it's also interesting because like we know of a majority of their politics. Like they go to Philadelphia Pride regularly. Mm-hmm. They're relatively liberal wholesale. Robert McInerney, the guy who plays Mac, was actually raised by two moms in a Philly suburb. And I was mean to ask this question too. Do you think they implement political motifs like the kind of political commentary that they incorporate out of necessity, or just because it's like something that would add a little bit more additional context or a little bit more additional relevancy to the show?
I think they can do. I don't think it's necessary to add, some of these political motifs. I think it just adds additional context because, most of these episodes, they don't really have a lot of political commentary built within. A lot of it's just sort of a group dynamic that's being explored and how this group sort of lives and plays off one another in such a degree that it is not one single person achieves their dreams by existing within this ecosystem.
Which is a really sad sentiment, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mostly agree. I think that like because there's so much on the characters rather than on the commentary, it ends up just sort of being like a coincidental confluence when it comes to like talking about things like global warming or like talking about things like justice issues and things like that. It ends up sort of just being something that that coincides with the message that the character wants to make rather than the message that the show wants to make about a political issue. And given we've seen this before, like just in the past, like Seinfeld famously was a show about nothing. And I guess this also begs the question, is Sunny in Philadelphia, is Always Sunny in Philadelphia, is it also a show about nothing?
That's a good question because as I'm making my way through Seinfeld right now, I get it. And I can sort of see the influence that Seinfeld has
Mm-hmm.
on It's Always Sunny. I mean, you have the group dynamic, right? Although I don't think the Seinfeld group is as toxic to one another in terms of we want to actively drag you down to where we are, as the gang is in It's Always Sunny. But there is no overarching sort of idea or goal that these groups are sort of trying to get to. It's a sort of let's see what the gang can get into every single week and see what happens. So yeah, I think in some regards, yeah, it's a show about nothing.
It's interesting that it's called the show about nothing because it also just encompasses like all these other motifs, like all the political stuff that we just discussed. And that ends up making it more of a show about everything. Like I mentioned, that it has like that blue collar appeal, that it has like that kind of universal appeal. And I think it's
Mhm.
because it touches on all of those subjects. So it's like they know that the gas crisis episode or the Gang Turks Black episode isn't going to resound with everybody, but they know that they're going to get it right one of the times or a few of the times. And
Mhm.
I think there's an interesting approach to that kind of strategy just as far as like garnering new fans or playing to fan service a little bit, that they know that they're going to hit the mark in one or a few of those instances. But I think it sort of reinforces the thinking that this is a show that doesn't set out to make this really explicit political agenda or to set out this really political motif like shows like The West Wing might do.
Right.
Never thought I'd be comparing Sunny in Philadelphia to The West Wing. But yeah, this is definitely one of those where there's like an interesting split between or a very interesting variety in how they go about the show.
And on that note, Sam, do you have anything else to add?
Does Charlie end up fulfilling his quest in order to become the Rat King? I haven't seen that far into the show, so I don't know if that actually ends up happening.
I don't think he has.
What candidate? Okay, here's a question for you. We've established that Charlie is safely a Democrat. What candidate among current Democrats do you think Charlie would be the most steadfast for campaigning for if he were much more involved in a political campaign?
That's a good question.
I feel like he'd be a Joe Biden fan just because Joe Biden's also like from Philly or from sorry
Yeah.
from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, two different places. I know that. Don't at me. But yeah, I think he would be a really big into like Joe Biden. I could also see Charlie liking Beto O'Rourke, but I also might be getting this mixed in with like the obscure memories of the actual actor Charlie going and campaigning for candidates. So he might have actually done a fundraiser for Beto in 2018.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I I have this weird idea that he would be a supporter of Tulsi Gabbard.
Oh, I could see that. Like the character being a supporter of Tulsi. Right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could see that.
Yeah, so but I can definitely see Joe Biden and Beto O'Rourke as well. On that note, I guess we should conclude.
we should apologize.
So we know there's a lot to discuss on this topic, and this discussion totally wasn't meant to be exhaustive. We're just Reddit smart and Wikipedia smart.
If that,
If that, if you think we left out something important,
which we definitely did.
email us at popularpartisan@gmail.com.
Or add us on Twitter. We exist on Twitter at Pop Partisan.
We do, and maybe you get a follow back.
Maybe. It just depends on what mood we're in.
We might not immediately do anything with them,
I might, but you won't. You definitely won't.
but we will heed them.
Yes, we'll heed them and we'll sneed them and we'll completely I don't know other words that rhyme with heed. It's been a long time since I've read Dr. Seuss. It's gotten canceled, so I'm never going to be able to again.
Yep, burn your green eggs and ham book, apparently.
Burn your cat in the hat.
Tune in next time as we discuss the Cold War.
The Cold War.
Do svidanya.
Bye, everybody. Pop Partisan is hosted and created by Sam Gerard and Anthony Tarzi. Logo by Emily Turner. PopularPartisan.com website by Joe Gerard. Music by Andrew LeVogue. Go find Andrew on Instagram, Spotify, and Bandcamp and thank us later. Make sure to subscribe to Pop Partisan wherever you get your podcast fix.